Welcome. This is Sheila with Diamond Painting with Sheila, and we're ready to start day 5 of our Advent diamond painting or calendar, whichever you're working on. So welcome, and let's get started on day 5. So I'm going to take the day 5 paper off and see what we got here. Oh, well, it's going to be another one that's mostly one color. This is the a lot of color blocking, which doesn't bother me so much. I'll get these lined up here like I always do before each start. But some people do not like color blocking. It doesn't bother me at all. I do like to get my rows lined up though, so that I don't have to worry about a crooked row as I'm going. So, okay, here we go. Day 5. So we're starting out with all of our light off-white beige colored diamonds or drills, and so we'll get them going here and get them in our tray here, and we'll move the tray back and forth. The purpose of moving the tray back and forth like this is to get our beads upright and kind of in the grooves of the tray so that they're easier to pick up with your diamond painting pin and work with. So, okay. And a lot of them just fell right into place, which makes that pretty nice. So we'll start up here and we'll start putting in our this is just the way I have always done it, and you'll probably notice in most of my videos this is the way that I'm gonna always start out. And I may start at a different end. I may start at the bottom, work up, or I may start at another side, the left side, and work up. It just depends on the angle that I'm at and how I feel like it best suits me at the time. But I try to I've just always been in the habit of doing it the same way, so it just helps me get my rows established, my first row especially established, and straight. And that's why I think it's very important that you establish your first row and get it as straight as you can, so that the rest of them kind of fall in place as you go along. Anyway, that's how it's always kind of worked for me, and so I hope you, I don't know how you do it, but I'd be happy to hear how you start yours out, and what makes you, what you find works best for you when putting in your first row to make things look more uniform and so that it works the best for you, and you have a straighter row the first time around. As I said, I'm single placer, so that probably differs from several of you. I know there are single placers out there because I've watched them before, so I do know that is that is true. There are single placers out there, and so that I know is a fact. But we all do it differently, which is, as I always continually say, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because we should do it differently. We don't need to do it the same. And I see this coloring is off here a little bit. So I'm just going to go with the lettering and not worry about the coloring, I guess, so much. Because I look at that and I'm thinking, okay, now that's still, we're still in the beige, but it shows a little bit of a gray. So I'm not going to worry about that. It's just off. But it could be confusing to somebody. So but as long as you're following your DMC code set up on your legend, and that's the main thing. Whatever that letter or number is, that's what you go by. Not necessarily always, as we can see today, the color underneath it. Because that one did not work out that way. I think it showed the color of the L, but it had an I instead on my paper here. So, you know, just make sure you do the I in the beige, which is what I have here on my canvas, and so I want to stay with that. Make that a uniform pattern. So I'm going to hit my camera again. I'm a bad habit. I pull it down too low because I want to make sure you can see what I'm doing, and I think I get it down just too low. And I don't like to, I really shouldn't do that. I should get that figured out, but I haven't done it yet, but I'll keep working on it. I'm not used to filming, I guess, my diamond painting enough yet to have that mastered, but I will. You know, repetition does that eventually. So we'll just keep practicing at it. Eventually you guys won't have to worry about me hitting this camera all the time. So, well, I hope you've had a good day today. Day 5 is, wow, 5 days into Advent. Well, time is flying by. It really is. So we've just got 20 more days till Christmas. Oh, goodness. I hope you're all ready for Christmas. I'm getting there. I'm not completely ready, but I'm getting there. We're going to have well, Christmas Day, I'm not doing anything much on Christmas Day. I'll be having a quiet Christmas at home. I'll probably fix a ham or something. We're going to have our Christmas later because of other family members have obligations with their in-laws and things like that. So that works out fine. I don't mind that at all. It's been that way every year for several years, so I've gotten into that pattern or that habit, and it works out well for me too. So yeah, it's what, you know, it's what works for everyone. And that's what's important. I don't mind that we don't actually eat our dinner on Christmas together. We all talk to each other at different times throughout the day, and you know, to see what each, you know, they let me know what the grandkids let me know what their kids got for Christmas. I usually get video pictures of what they've gotten, and I think this year I'm going to spend Christmas probably with my mom at the care center. she said that I could come there if I'd like, and I said, well, would you like me to come? And she said yes, she would. So I said, well, then I think I can work that out. So that's probably going to be my plan, unless I get sick or something, or she gets sick or something. We'll plan to do that. You never know what might happen, but I don't take colds or things like that over to her. If I've got the sniffles or the signs of a cold coming on, I don't go over to her. I talk to her every day, but I don't always get over there every day. And she's perfectly content where she's at. She likes where she's at, and it's just a matter of visiting with her, talking with her, and we share a lot of things. We have a lot of things we talk about daily, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. My mom is in a wheelchair. She had a stroke about 12 years ago, I believe now. Yeah, and so she's in a wheelchair, and she's been in that kind of a situation for a while now, and it was a very rough time when she did have her stroke. We weren't sure she was going to make it. She was in a coma for almost 2 weeks, and we all 4 were at the hospital with her and sleeping in the chairs at the hospital, waiting for signs of her to wake up, and talking to her constantly while she was taking turns with her in the room and talking to her and trying to pull her back to us, because the doctor said he was sure she could probably hear us. So it was important for us to constantly talk to her, and we did. And so we took our shifts at doing that, and we all stayed at the hospital and practically lived in those chairs. They weren't very comfortable, but they were it was necessary. And we were so happy when Mom opened her eyes and was able to talk to us again. It was just a miracle. A lot of praying went on that day, those 2 weeks, and she had a brain bleed, and we don't know exactly why she had that brain bleed, but she did, and left her right side completely paralyzed. And for years, my brother and I took care of her. He kept her for part of the week, and I kept her for part of the week, so that neither one of us would get too overwhelmed by it, because Mom required some lifting, and it was a full-time job, more or less, feeding her and taking care of her. And she could feed herself. I mean, I'll say that, but she couldn't help, and she did help you as much as she could in the beginning. But then she got to falling quite a bit, and the last time she fell, it was very evident that we could not any longer lift on her, because she couldn't help us. And we all have bad backs in our family. It runs in our family. So we just had to make a major decision together, the 4 of us kids, and so we went to Mom and we talked to her, and she knew this was coming, I think, because she accepted it very well. And we found a care center that was in her liking, one that she felt comfortable about going to. My mother has her own mind. She still has a very sharp mind at 93, and she said she was willing to go, and so that's what we did. We got her all set up in the nursing home, or not a nursing home, it's a care center. We aren't allowed to call it a nursing home in my mother's presence anyway, because she wouldn't want to be there if she thought it was a nursing home. She's very particular that way. It's a care center. There's a difference. She knows there's a difference because she worked in a nursing home, and she knows how people were treated in the nursing home she worked in, and they're not treated that way in where she's at. So this is not a nursing home. This is a care center, and that's a major difference. Where she worked, people were not treated very well, and when she worked there years and years ago, that was when she was young, and she worked there, I would say probably not too long after, it was probably when her and Dad were first married, and she wasn't that old. I mean, she was older, but in her 20s, but she worked there when she was fairly young, and she saw things in that nursing home that it just made her ill. She said she couldn't stay there. She said, I just could not make that my career, because she said, as much as I liked those people and I cared about them, and I felt the same way because I tried working in one too, and I just couldn't do it either. She complained, and I did the same thing, complained about the treatment of the people. But back in those days, that is how people were treated. The treatment from was a lot different than what people are treated nowadays. And you can't treat them that way now. There's rules and regulations, thank heaven, that don't allow you to treat them that way. So it has come a long way, and we're so thankful for that, because I would never want my mother in a situation like what I saw when I worked in one, and what my mother saw when she worked in one. So, yeah, we're very thankful for that. But anyway, she likes where she's at, and I'm very thankful. We're all very thankful for that as her children. And I mean, Mom was a good mom, and she was a very good, caring mom, and we would just want the very best for her now that she has this situation that she has. And so she can't help it that she had a stroke. I mean, it happened, and it's just terrible that it did, because she's always been such a hard-working woman, and a very loving and caring woman. But she could be tough when she needed to be, let me tell you. She retired from a job after 30 years of working at it, and she was very well liked and respected at her job, because Mom did her job. She didn't slack off. In fact, she did above her job on many occasions. They knew that they could count on her, to get that job done and done right. She never left a job undone. She never left a job done wrong. She always saw that it was done and done right. She stayed there with it till it was, if it wasn't done right. I don't think that she ever had one that she had to, that wasn't done right, though, that I know of. So anyway, she was having such a good retirement life. She would go down to my sister's for 6 months of the year, and then she'd come back up here for 6 months of the year. So she got to spend time with all of her kids. This was after her second husband died. Her daughter, her sister, also lived down where her daughter did in Arkansas. So she was able to visit with her too while she was down there, because her and her sister were fairly close. And she only at that time had one brother and one sister left. The rest of them had passed away. So life was really doing pretty good. And my dad had divorced his second wife, and he also lived in Arkansas. And they had, I don't know how I want to say this, they had reclaimed their friendship. They had became good friends after the death of her husband, her second husband, and his divorce. And they just had I don't know, just a friendship. And they would sit out on my sister's porch, because she stayed with my sister while she was down there. And my dad had a mobile home, I don't know, on part of the acreage that my sister owned. I don't know how far away that was or anything, but I mean, I know where it was. I remember seeing it, but I can't judge the distance exactly. But anyway, he would come up to where my sister lived, and he would sit out there on the front porch with them. They'd play music with my sister and my brother-in-law, and my mom would come over and sit and listen, or my mom would come out and sit and listen. And then after my brother-in-law and my sister had enough music playing, they'd go inside, and they'd be done for the evening, and my dad would stay, and mom and her mom and him would sit outside on the front porch there and visit with each other for quite a little while. About every evening, that dad chose to come up. And anyway, they struck up a friendship again, which was nice, because when they parted, it wasn't as nice of a parting as it could have been. So we were glad as kids that they did, because it just made things much more pleasant to have them both as friends. And my dad, who was raised in the church as a child, turned away from, well, he went to church with mom as a young man and a young father, but was quickly disillusioned by a lady in the church who insisted that he go up front and give his testimony and kneel at the altar and do all kinds of different things. And she tried to force him into doing these things, and he did not want to do them, and he would not do them. He walked out of the church, and he told my mother that day that was the last time he would ever go back. And it was. She just kind of ruined things for Mom and Dad. They had gone every Sunday up until that point together. We all did as a family. And after that, he would not go to church again. He prayed. I mean, he didn't say he didn't believe in God. He believed in God. He knew that. He didn't practice, and he didn't live a good life always after that so much. He kind of just gave up on all that. I don't know why he did. But I mean, it was because he blamed it on that woman. She just kind of, he called her a hypocrite. And I don't know, it was just, he saw lots of things going on in life with some of these people that went to church. And my father, he just would not, he just couldn't buy it. He just said, you know, they go to church and pretend to be so righteous, and he said, and through the week they're not. He said, I've seen a lot of things, and that's what he told me, and I know I used to tell Mom. But eventually, that's all beside the point now. Eventually, though, my father in his later years, and I have a letter that he had written, a good friend of his, that had been friends of his for years, I saw that this letter, and he thought it was important that I read this letter, and so I did. And it was all about how my dad had turned his life over to Christ, because this friend never gave up on my dad. They were best friends, but he had, how do I put it? He was a Christian, and he had never given up his faith, and he never turned away from God. I don't know that if my dad ever actually, he never turned away from God as far as denying him. He just didn't. I just think he just didn't practice anything that he should have, I think. But I don't know exactly what was. But anyway, I read the letter that Dad wrote to his friend who was a Christian, and he gave that to me when my dad died, and he said that he thought I should have it. And I'm so glad he gave it to me, because when my father passed away, I had such a peace in my heart, because I knew where my father was. He was in heaven with the Lord, and it made me feel better. I know some of you don't believe in that and don't agree with that, but I do, and that's what's important. That's what makes me feel better. And that's what matters. It made me feel better. So I believe that to be true, and that's what is on my heart and makes me feel good. But anyway, back to my mom and dad. Became good friends, and so anyway, my mom and then it was after she left my sister's for her 6 months, she come up actually while she was down there, the last time she was down there, my my dad, he never came up to sit on the porch to visit with her, and she thought that was funny. That was strange because normally he did, always when they were out playing music. But he'd been out fishing earlier that day, and everybody thought, well, maybe he was just tired. So they didn't think any more about it. And the next day, he a lot of times he'd come up and had breakfast with him too. And he never showed up for breakfast either. So my mom went over to knock on the door to see if he was home. And his truck was there, and she knocked, and she heard the dog barking inside, so she knew that he was home because he always took his dog with him everywhere he went. But the door was locked. So she thought, I don't, my sister was gone to work. My brother-in-law was gone to work. So she didn't know what to do exactly. So she went to and got the neighbor. And he was good. He was always really good at visiting with Dad too. This neighbor was. So he come over and he helped her get the door open, and they went inside and they found my dad in bed. He had gone to sleep and he just never woke up the next day. So my dad passed away in the night, and that's the way he had always wanted to go. He had told me many times, when I die, I just want to go to sleep and not wake up the next day. And that's exactly what happened to him. He just fell asleep and just never woke up the next day. So that was really hard. But when you think about the long term of it, we know we'll see him again. So that is good. We'll meet our Father again one day. So anyway, then it was approaching winter then. I mean, it was winter. And so that's why Mom stayed down there through the winter. So then it was springtime, and it was time for Mom to come up here to us when the weather was really nice. And so she come up to see us, and she was doing some things at my sister's house, helping her get her garden in, and different things of canning, and I don't know what all they were doing. It was during the summer months, and I don't know what all it was. But anyway, she was working hard with her out on the farm. She'd stay a few days out there, and then she'd come stay a few days with my brother, and then she'd come stay a few days with me. It was just, she just would share her time with us while she was up here. And so we all just, loved to see her come when she did come. And the grandkids just, loved to see her too. But the one thing Mom would not do is she would not babysit for us. That she was not a babysitting mom. Not when they were little. She just was not going to do that. She said that nobody watched her children for her when she was little, when we were little, and they didn't. Mom took care of us all by herself. If she had to go to to the grocery store or something like that, we went right along with her. She never had to have a babysitter for that. In fact, the only time I ever remember having a babysitter was when Mom was working, or if Dad, when he had his band. Once in a while, Mom would go with him to one of his band things. But outside of that, I very seldom ever remember having a babysitter. When we were old enough, I was the babysitter. So, yeah, it was just not, we were kind of with Mom until we were kind of old enough to take care of ourselves. So, anyway, that's just how it was. So, anyway, back to Mom. She was out at my sister's, and they were getting ready to have supper that evening, and they had supper. And Mom was in, I think she was painting, or no, maybe, I don't know what she was doing exactly. She was in the bathroom, and all of a sudden she just felt so sick, and she screamed at my sister for help. And she was sick at her stomach, and she had a violent headache. And I mean, it was so bad. My mom never ever complained when she was sick. But my sister knew this was something terrible. You just knew. So she had her husband call 911, and Mom was constantly throwing up and just screaming in pain. And she never ever did that. Mom could tolerate a lot of pain. So then I think she might have passed out. I'm not sure. But anyway, the first responders were there quite fast, and they got her to the hospital. And the hospital could see that this was something that they could not deal with exactly. They felt they needed to get her more care than what they could provide for her. So out of their emergency room, because it was just a very small hospital. And so they air carried her right away to the university and hospital. And up there they were very Johnny on the spot. I mean, these people were quick, and the people in the helicopter were very quick at we were in our cars and on our way to Iowa City as quickly as we could. But they were just excellent at what they did. And but anyway, Mom ended up in a coma, and we found out she had a brain bleed, and at the base of the brain stem, and they weren't sure she was even going to make it. But they did say that she had a chance to make it, and that they felt she could hear us, but and that we could continue to talk to her and try to pull her around. They said it was very iffy, but they felt she could hear us, and if there was a chance that she could pull through, It might be because she could hear our voices. So it would be very important for us to continue to talk to her then. And if there was a chance at all, hearing our voices may pull her through this coma, because they were sure that she probably could hear us, and somebody familiar might be what she needs. A familiar voice might be what she needs to do that. So that's what we did. We took shifts and we took turns, and we talked to Mom constantly about things. We talked to her about how much we loved her, about things of the past that we did as a kids, things we did as kids and as adults, and just kind of a little bit of everything. And it was a lot of sleeping in a chair, very little of eating. I mean, we once in a while, our spouses would bring us food, or our children. Well, our children were little then, more so. Well, I don't know. They were not. They were grown up. See, some of them were grown up by then. But anyway, it was just quite an ordeal. And a lot of praying. A lot of praying. And I know she was on a lot of prayer chains. I know my church had her on a prayer chain, and she was on several prayer chains. My friends, their churches put her on prayer chains. There was praying going on everywhere for Mom. And it was a miracle. The Lord did what the Lord did, because it was not her time yet. Thank goodness. That's what I thought it said. Mom came through. She woke up and was paralyzed, but that's how it happened. And for the 12 years now, she's been that way. Nothing has really changed in that respect, and she's still paralyzed. And she's not going to ever not be paralyzed until the day she goes home and meets the Lord, which she's very ready to do. Mom's a very good Christian, and she's very much ready to meet the Lord. The minute He's ready to take her, she's ready to go. And but she's adjusted very well at the care center. I'm very thankful for that, because she has never wanted to go to a nursing home. She's cried about that in the past over the years. So we're so thankful that it's been a blessing to us that we haven't had to worry about that with her, because that would have been the worst thing in the world if we'd had to take her to a nursing home and have her cry the whole time she was there. It would have been unbearable. I don't know if we could have done it. So, yeah, it was much easier on us and on her too. So, anyway, she's been a very big blessing in our lives. We are so thankful to have our mother. I've always loved my mother and my father both, but I've had a very special, all of us kids have had a special, special place in our heart for our mother. Not that we don't love our father. We loved him very much and miss him every day. But circumstances were just a little different with each parent. And I think you find that every family member finds that there's one parent that just kind of maybe might stick out a little bit more than the other one. And that was the case with my mom. She was just a wonderful person and still is a wonderful person. And she's always going to be special in my heart forever. So, okay, well, we're getting close to the end here. Yay. This is number 5. So I don't know, how have any of you had any kind of incidents like that happen to you? Or are your parents, if you have parents that are still able to get around well and do well, be very thankful. Love your parents, because you're not going to have them forever. Enjoy them while you can. Enjoy their good health while you can, because you never know from one minute to the next what might happen. No one knows. We had no idea Mother might have a stroke. She was a very healthy person, very active, very, very active. I mean, she ate right. She was active. I don't know, we just never expected it. It was not something that any of us saw coming. So, yeah, you just never know. So, love your parents and take care to let them know that while you have them, because you're not going to always have them. Okay, we have day 5 done, and we're going to do day 6 up here tomorrow. So come back again and join me. We're starting to make some headway here. We're getting an idea of something here. I don't know exactly what we're going to see. We'll know probably more when we get into this area. But tomorrow's day 6, so come back again and join me then. Have a happy day. Have a very blessed day. Keep warm out there, everyone. And like my video and share my video with your family and friends. Also, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and join me on my diamond painting journey. Hit that notification button, will you please? And that way, whenever I upload a video, you'll always be notified, and that's important too. But mainly, like and view my channel and subscribe. I love having you all join me, and I hope you like what I'm doing here and putting out on YouTube. If there's something you want to see different, please don't hesitate to comment. And let me know what you'd like to see, because I'm willing to listen to that, and we'll see what we can, if it's something that I can do. I can't promise anything, but I'm sure willing to listen. So, all right. You have a good day. Have a blessed day. Thank you so much. Happy diamond painting. Bye.